ornament along with other things. I don't normally record the process, and I'm going to do that on this particular one because I want to have it. Hi, Judy. This is being recorded live on Ustream, and so you'll hear me chatting with people that are in the live chat, and hopefully everything is going okay here. If not, we'll just wish it had been. If not, I'll do it again some other day. Okay. Looking for my brush. So this is a hand-carved ornament, and I need to check the stripes here just a minute. Yeah, okay. Just making sure that I have an even number of stripes so I can paint his hat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint his face. So I'm just going to talk my way through the process, and we'll see if Ustream and all the recording gods are with us today. So I'm going to paint, this is called base coating, and so I'm going to base coat his face, which on the raw wood, you probably won't be able to tell much difference, but this is the color that I happen to like. It's called Santa's Flesh. Believe it or not, that's the name of it. It's a Ceramcoat, Delta Ceramcoat color. If you have any questions, put them in caps in the chat. And I'll do my best to answer. When I'm painting, I have to say it's a little tricky to watch the chat and pay attention to what I'm doing, but you know, that's how it goes. I'll do the best I can. So just for the purposes of the recording, every year my husband, who we affectionately refer to as Clausman, who is in the studio today, and he is carving. I don't know what he's working on today. Maybe he'll show us after a while, huh? Every year we do a line of Santas for Christmas. We have some collectors that seem to like to collect what we do each year. We sell them pretty much by word of mouth, and it's a first come, first serve kind of basis. So whoever asks for one first is the one that gets it. So that's how we do it. I don't put them any place, although if I have them left over this year, after we've shown them to the people, if I sell some ahead of showing them to people, that's fine too. I don't have a problem doing that. But I do, on the How to Get Creative website, I do have a place on there where I can put them up, whatever I have after we've shown them or what have you. So, okay, so this is raw wood. Hi, Marita. Hi, Jeannie. Just looking up to see the chat for a minute. Welcome, everybody. Glad you're here. Thank you for coming on an impromptu day. I do more streaming this time of year just because it's kind of fun for me to have somebody to chat with while I'm doing this. Usually what I end up doing is talking while I'm painting. So I don't interact with the chat quite as much as I try to on real stream days. Hi, Carrie. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so while this part dries, I don't want to get my hands in that, so I'm going to leave that part alone. I'm going to work on his hat. And Clausman carved it into a candy cane stripe. So I'm going to paint the white parts first. And then we'll come back. So I'm going to try and keep my hands out of the wet paint here. Whoops. Yeah, I'm going to do white first. Okay. So I'm just using white paint. Hopefully trying to keep it under the camera. The challenge of doing this painting business is to keep it under the camera where you guys can see and keep it close enough to my face where I can see. That's always the challenge here. But, you know. So anyway, I painted late last night, and so we were chatting around about various and sundry subjects. Usually somebody asks me a question. That's very helpful because then it gets me talking about something and I can tell a story or just chat about something. And that's also why I don't tend to record this, because sometimes I say things that shouldn't be recorded. So there you go. Anyway, I'm going to really try hard to be cognizant and aware of what I'm talking about so I won't get myself in trouble here. So those of you that are here live, don't be surprised if I don't interact a lot with the chat. I will look up every little bit as much as possible and catch up with questions and statements and so forth. So anyway, so this part goes rather slowly, the base coating, because the better I base coat, the easier the final process is. It's like painting a house. Think of it like priming a house or priming a wall or whatever. The most important coat of paint that's on that house or the wall or whatever is the primer coat, your first coat. And it's the same thing with doing these. These are carved out of basswood, a northern basswood. Clausman, correct me if I say this incorrectly, okay? Are you listening? Correct me if I say this wrong. It says northern basswood.
It's basswood, yes.
Okay.
From up in Minnesota, up north next to the Canadian line.
Okay. Basswood grown in Minnesota or somewhere up next to the Canadian line.
Same thing as linden.
Linden is the other name of it. Lindenwood.
Linden.
Linden. And it is the reason that he uses that for the carvings is because it is called a soft hardwood, which means that it is carvable, but it's hard enough that well, it's soft enough to carve, but it's hard enough to carve. So yeah, there you go. How's that for confusion, huh? Anyway, so I do have to take time with painting the base coat of color. It's never the final color or the final details. Those come at the very end. And that's when all of a sudden it makes everything sharpen up and look good. And so, yeah, that's how it goes. So I'm working primarily with Americana and Delta Ceram Coat paints. I happen to like them. I like the effect. I like the colors. It's taken me years to figure out what process I like to use. And also, please excuse me not being on camera today, but I don't have my camera face on, so you won't see my face. You'll only see my hands and what I'm doing. Normally, you guys get to see me, but, you know, not today. Hey, Jan, thanks. You want to watch him carve? We did do a carving stream one year. Carving is really slow. It is slower in the process. It is slower than the painting process in some way. I don't know. They're both, it's probably not true. They're probably about the same. We did do a carving stream, but if you can imagine carving knives and carving gouges and trying to keep up with the chat, yeah, it's not a good combination. Let's just say that. And I think that stream was gone a long time ago. That was back before I was keeping all the streams. So maybe we can talk him into that again in the future. I don't know. That could be tricky. That could be tricky, talking him into that. So I am using an angled shader type of brush. These are not expensive brushes because acrylic paint, no matter how much I try to keep them from loading up the ferrule with acrylic paint, they still get loaded up. And so I have learned to just buy multiple sets of brushes, and I go through at least 1 to 2 sets of brushes every season. So I get the brushes that I like, and then if they're working for me, then I go back and get more of them so I have them on hand. But these are nice with this angle. This works really well. I tend not to use these when I paint other stuff, but I may now since I've decided that I like these. Sorry, I'm catching up on the chat for a minute, so give me a second. Just looking at the chat to see if there were questions. I think everybody's just kind of chatting with each other. Okay, I don't see anything that I need to answer or chat with, so I'm going to keep going here. All right, we have one more stripe. So anyway, the one year that we did record the carving process, I was watching the chat and just trying and watching the camera angles and stuff, so Clausman could just concentrate on what he was doing. He works with a combination of tools. He works with knives and gouges of different sizes. The gouges all come with different shapes on the end, and you have left-handed or left-angled shapes and right-angled shapes, and some of them are long-handled, some of them are short-handled. I mean, you have a whole variety of gouges and shapes, and I don't have a clue how many tools he uses over the course of doing one piece, but I think it's quite a few. I've never tried my hand at carving, and I don't think I ever will. So we joke that we have to stay married because I don't carve and he doesn't paint. So it takes 2 of us to create any of these. It absolutely does. He does have a real job, and so we, as do I have HowToGetCreative.com, which is a membership website, and so we both are busy during, sorry, you probably can't see that. We both are busy during the day. And that's why I tend to paint late at night, because it's kind of my downtime from all the other stuff that's going on. Okay, so you can see he's got white stripes. He's got his face on. Rain says if she tried carving, there'd soon be a trip to the ER. Yeah, I think it might be the situation with me. It might be the same thing. Sorry, Jeannie, what did you say? I saw your thing that you said something nice. What was that? Yeah. Trips to the ER, cutting off vital things. Yeah, there is that. So what we have up here in the top is we have a little screw eye that he put in for me, so that will hold my my makeshift wire when I have to hang it up to let it dry. So that's why that's in there. Okay, so I'm going to continue base coating. The white will dry pretty quickly. I'm going to go ahead and base coat up here. So I always have to be aware of where my hand is to try to avoid getting it into wet paint, and also having to be aware of how careful I have to be so I don't slop paint onto something else that shouldn't have paint on it yet, because I find that if I slop an acrylic color where it should not go, you can't be guaranteed that the next acrylic color is going to fix the problem. It is just much better to be real careful. And sometimes the cuts are really quite deep, and so I have to be really careful that I get the paint in all the way so that all of the cracks and crevices are filled in, because if they're not, when I come back with the detail work over the top of it, all of that shows way more than I intend for it to show. And it also accepts the paint differently. Raw wood takes paint differently than base coated wood. So that's why this is a slow go process. But I thought with something small like this, that, and I'm sorry, it's going to go out of focus here for a minute because I got to tip it up. I thought with something small like this, you guys might be able to see kind of what I'm doing. So you would, because I often get asked for, why don't you record the process? And it's like, well, because it's bloody boring to start with. And I keep a damp brush available, and that's what I use to clean up. So I slopped a little paint down here on this stripe, and even though it stains the wood white, I still remove as much of the color as possible, again, so that I don't have it affecting what's coming next. Oh, Jeannie said she was glad to be awake for my stream, whether you could see my face or not. Okay. And Rain says it's not boring. Okay. All right. Okay, so there's where we are so far. So now I'm going to do his hat band. And I think I'm going to paint his hat band. Well, his hat's going to be red and white striped. I think I'm going to paint his hat band silver, because I think that would be fun for something different. So I'm going to use this Gleams. It's a Ceramcoat Gleams. I don't know whether they still make... Sorry, I'm shaking a bottle of paint. That's why you see my other hand shaking. I don't know whether they still make the Gleams colors or not. But anyway, that's what I'm going to use. I still have a lot of paints from days gone by. This one is called, conveniently, Silver. And it's a nice silver color. So I'm going to use it. I'm going to paint the hat band in silver. I don't normally do silver. I normally do gold. And so, yeah, that's what I'm going to use. By this time, the white stripes are pretty dry, so it's safe for me. I often use my little pinky finger to rest the brush. But I have to kind of be careful that I don't put the white pom-pom down on the surface, because at the moment it's still wet. And there's a point with acrylic paint where it's too... it's not completely dry, but it's not wet. And what happens with that in that place is that when it touches something, it can be pulled off. and then you have a hole in acrylic paint, and that is bad news. Acrylic paint, whether it is craft paint, artist paint, or whatever, is a bit on the tricky side to work with, just so you know. When I started painting, I started as an oil painter many, many, many years ago, and I loved oil paint. It's what I knew. It was what I was comfortable with. We always worked on wood or canvas, so I was, like, unlike Jay the Urion, who is an amazing painter. He's an amazing artist, not just a painter. He does every kind of medium that I'm aware of. He's even carved. He showed some carvings that he did one night when I was watching him stream. I don't know if he's still streaming or not. Anyway, he paints with oils on paper also, which we were going to get together one time, and he was going to teach me how to do that, which we just never got it together. I've never done that. But anyway, I started painting with oils on wood and canvas and stuff. And so I was familiar with the properties of oil and how they moved and how you worked with them. Now, going back to that now could be tricky business, because I haven't used oils in so long, and I'm so used to now working with acrylics, so it could be a little tricky business. Anyway, I started out when Clausman first did the painting or carvings. I started trying to paint them in oil, which I liked the blending and all the cool stuff you could do, but in three-dimensional pieces, trying to paint in oil, for me, I'm not saying for anybody else, but for me, it was impossible. Bye, Uli. Uli. Well, that's a new spelling for my name. I haven't ever been called B-E-R-B. My name gets spelled many, many ways, but that's a new one, Uli. That's pretty funny. Gotta watch out, or Eileen will be calling me that instead of Barb. I'm just always grateful that Eileen doesn't spell my name B-A-R-F. That's what I'm grateful about. So anyway, I had to find a different way to paint the carvings, because oil paint does not work for me in 3D. So I started working with acrylic, and it took me a long time to figure out how to get the acrylic paint to do what it was that I wanted it to do, which basically, for lack of a better term, is I wanted it to look as much like it was done, that things were done with oils, as possible. Now, I don't know if other people think that they look like they're done in oils, but I do, so there you go. I'm happy with the result. You know, and in the final analysis, if you're not if you're happy with what you get done, other people end up being happy with what you do. Okay, so he's got a silver hat band on. Hi, Josie. That's okay, Uli, no problem. That was funny. Hi, Jean. Hi, is Sandy here? That's Josie. Card Chick is Josie. Is Sandy here too? I don't see her. Card Chick and Chick, whatever, get their names. People get their names confused, I think, because it's Chick and Chick. Wrong room, huh, Jean? Okay, so there we go. I have a little space here where I slopped some silver paint up on the white accidentally, so I'm going to go back and coat that in white before my white dries up. I work on a disposable palette. Last night I was watching Christie's, I'm going to butcher her name yet again. I need to sometime talk to her in person and say your name for me so I get it right. Soboleski, Gulf Sprite. It's easier to call her Gulf Sprite. Anyway, I was watching her on YouTube Live last night. And I asked her how she kept her acrylic paints wet. And she was showing me her palette, which I have one of those palettes. I never have successfully kept my paint in good shape. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so his pom-pom is dry. So the tricky part about working with ornaments is being able to hold on to them because they're small. So I'm now going to come down here and I'm going to base coat in his mustache. So mustache and beard, I have to be careful where the mustache meets the flesh color. Because again, this is all about the base coat and covering all the raw wood. For me, this is my process. Are there other processes? Of course. This is my process, and so that's why I'm working through it, to have it recorded so people know what I do. So I have to be careful. So I get up here, and sometimes the cuts are so tight. I don't even know how Clausman cuts these cuts sometimes. But sometimes they're very tight, so I have to go in with a tiny, tiny, tiny little brush and catch those places that are next to another color, which I will have to do right up next to where the mustache meets the cheeks and under his nose, because I can't get in there with this particular brush. Barb, have you ever tried adding a bit of glycerin to your paints for longer open time and enhanced blending? I have not. I have not. Might be worth a try. A little bit of glycerin, huh? Haven't done that. Haven't tried that. Thanks for that suggestion. Unfortunately, here's what happens. I don't do this type of painting except once a year. And so by the time I'm doing it, I'm usually under a time crunch. And so I'm not willing to experiment with things, if you know what I mean. So I revert back to the same exact way that I've done it for all these years, and then I just complain about the paint drying out. So there you go. In a nutshell, that's my excuse. Okay, so I was just reading the chat for a second. So once again, I need to come up here and I need to be real careful. He puts a lot of texture in his hair, which is great. But you got to be careful when you fill in all those little cracks and crevices right up next to the hat band. Because again, and you may or may not be able to see, you can kind of see right here, there's a little difference of color. That's because there's no white right up in there. So I have to be careful that I get all the raw wood covered in paint. Again, the reason being so that the colors in the next stage, the paint reacts correctly. Sometimes I do these in more as stains and let more of the raw wood show through, but basswood doesn't typically have a particularly pretty grain to the wood. So even though I've done that in the past, it's like, I really prefer them with more color because the grain of the wood, it's not like some other woods, like butternut is a beautiful wood, carved wood, and butternut I would never paint. And he's done some pieces in butternut, which we've shown in the past. He's done a dolphin, and I don't know what else he's done, but I know he did that one in butternut. It seemed like he's done some other ones too, but butternut is such a beautiful wood, has such a beautiful grain that I would never paint that. But basswood is a great wood for this kind of carving but it does not have what you would call a pretty grain to it. So I tend to like having the paint coat thicker. So if anybody's here in the live chat, if you have questions, be sure you put them in all caps, or if you want my attention, put them in all capital letters. Okay, so I'm just using the brush to scoot, and I'm sorry if it gets blurry, but I'm going to have to raise it up a little bit more so I can see. I'm just checking to see if I've gotten paint everywhere. One thing that I've talked about my some of my challenges with vision in the past, and one thing I have is really good close vision, but I have to get my glasses off and get it up where I can see it closer to my face, which works out great. Okay, so that's it for that brush. So the thing about acrylic paint is you got to keep it cleaned out of your brush. You've never heard of butternut wood? Claus, man, could you go down and get that dolphin so they can see what butternut wood is? Is that the only butternut piece we have now?
What's that?
The dolphin?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. That way I can show them what it is. So you got to keep acrylic paint out of your brush as much as possible. So I have Murphy oil soap in my water, and that works for me to help. It's the best thing I've found so far, and I've tried all different kinds of brush cleaners and stuff. You know, some of them are successful, some are not. At the end of the painting session, I clean them out with soap and water, and I leave some soap in the brushes also, which some people do, some people don't. That, you know, everything is personal preference and what you find works for you. That works for me. There may be other more traditionally accepted ways of doing things. And like anything, that's what works for me. And so you find what works and you stick with it. Okay, so what I'm doing is filling in the white that was right up next to where the mustache meets his face. And just blending that. Oh, okay. Just set him here on top of these paints. Yeah. That one's butternut too?
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot that. Thanks. You got to blend the edge of the paint down into what you've done before, otherwise it will leave a ridge, and that's bad news too. There are some things with acrylic paint that are bad news. And that's one of the things that you definitely don't want to do is leave a wet line of paint to dry into a ridge, because if you do, you are not going to be a happy camper. And right now I can't see the chat, so hang on for a minute and I will check the chat. So I'm just going back and making sure that I have all the raw wood covered. And as I said, the camera is this camera that I'm showing you under here. is at a specific focal length, and so if I tip the piece up like this, it will probably appear blurry to you, and that's for good reason, because it is focused so that the piece should be down on the table. So if it loses focus, that's why. So I'm just going around and just making sure that all the little pieces and parts are filled in. Okay. Now let me paint the bottom of this, and then while it's drying, we'll take a break and what's Clausman up to today? I don't know. What are you working on over there, Clausman?
Oh, I'm just killing time.
He's killing time. How about that? He's killing time today, people.
Just killing time.
He's making shavings.
Yeah.
He's making chips. Right now, our house is covered in wood chips from one end to the other. I even found wood chips in the bed the other day. Now, don't ask me how that happened. I got no clue. Okay, so I've painted the bottom. Because this is an ornament, I don't put any felt on the bottom, which I do on the big pieces. And so it has to have a nice coat of paint, which it may require more than one. Okay, so we'll come back and I'll paint the red stripes in a minute. Right now I'm going to hang it up and let it dry, which won't take very long. The raw wood does not take long to dry. We also have a line of resin pieces. And maybe while I'm taking a break, I'll show you some of those. And those are all hand painted as well. So maybe I'll show you some of those. Would you like to see those also? What type of tree is butternut? I don't know. What type of tree is butternut? It's a hardwood?
It's a hardwood.
So it would be like,
another soft hardwood.
It's a soft hardwood?
It's not near as soft as basswood.
Okay, so it's harder than basswood.
But not as hard as oak.
But not as hard as oak. So there you go. Yeah. Rather, yeah. Okay, so here is butternut. So let me give you a view. Whoops, in the wrong screen. Hang on a minute, I gotta get in the right place. Okay. So just so you know, the colors are going to be a little off here because I have on lights for me to be able to see. I got Santa's in the way here. So the color is not quite as accurate. It's a more golden color than what you're seeing because I have a fluorescent light on to be able to paint with. It's one of the mini lights that I have on when I'm doing this. But you can see the grain of the wood. So right about there is about what you can see. So that's, you can see the pretty grain of the wood. So I'm just turning it very slowly so you can see. So this was painted, or was not painted, it was carved only. And then, I don't know, did you stain this?
Oiled. No, I didn't think I stained it. It was just oil.
Just oil.
Danish oil, artist oil combination.
Okay, a Danish oil, artist oil combination, he said. And one of the characteristics of butternut are these holes that you see. Aren't they wormholes? Is that what you said they were?
Well, it could be wormholes. You could have knots that come out.
Yeah.
Those holes up there could be wormholes.
So that is characteristic of butternut, so you'll see various and sundry little holes here and there, and that is part of the wood. So you'll see some of them down here. Hey, Sandy. So that is butternut, but you can see why I would never paint this, because the grain of the wood is an integral part of the piece, and to paint that would just be, I mean, look at the grain on the fin. I guess that's a fin flipper. Maybe it's a flipper. I don't know my dolphin anatomy. Anyway, that's a part of that. This is another piece of butternut, and again, it's carved, but I don't know that you get the, maybe you can get the full, you can get some of the effect of the grain. But this, I would never paint this because it has such a beautiful grain. So that's another piece he did. I don't know, did you name this piece? I don't think so. Did you name this piece,
No,
Claus Man? This one, with the people?
Yeah, I didn't name that.
Okay. So, yeah. But again, you know, there's a knot here and there's some holes from the wood. I mean, that's just that's a characteristic of butternut. And then on the bottom, he signed it. He did this one in 2005. He signed it, and so we put a piece of, this is ultra suede, that I put on the bottom and then cut out the place for his signature so it would show. But those are butternut. Those will not be painted ever. Okay, so there you go. That's butternut. Actually, let me get some of the, that one I can't show because it's Ustream.
Oh, okay.
And they will kick me off.
Okay, you want to do that?
You can't even approach nudity.
Okay.
So, can't show that one.
All right.
If I were...
Well, I was going to say that's walnut.
Yeah. If I were doing just a recording that goes on YouTube, I can do it, but not on Ustream, because they will get...
I got you.
They get really picky.
Well, it isn't risque.
No, but it's close enough to risque. Their attitude, their acceptance of what is okay and what isn't is a very narrow margin.
Yeah, there's their point.
That's right. Indeed. Okay. So I had another piece that I was going to show you, but it's from walnut, and it's not one I can show you.
Statue.
It's over right there where my finger is. It's on a table back there, but you can't see it up close. It's walnut, and it is beautiful. It's a beautiful piece. But it's too close to nudity, and they would not. Hi, Lynn. They would not go for that. Okay, so we'll take a look at some of them. These are the line of resin pieces that we have. So I'll show you these. So all of these started out as they're originally carved in wood. I have all the original wood carvings somewhere. I'm not sure where. I'm looking. Yeah, I don't know where they are. Anyway, I have all the original wood pieces. And then he makes a mold from the original wood carving. Hi, Carol. Hi, Teresa's here. Hi, Teresa. And Trina. We got a group coming in. Yeah, Jeannie, rats. Just rats. So these were all originally carved, and then he has made a mold from each of the original carvings and then poured them in resin. It's a very labor-intensive process, And then I take them after they come out of the molds. They have to always be cleaned up. They don't come out of the mold looking like this. They come out of the mold with mold, I don't know what you call that, but it's mold, where the two halves of the mold come together. You get seepage. All that has to be cleaned up. And then they come to me, and then I start the painting process. Yeah, Jean has one of the icicle ones, and it's a resin piece. So anyway, so this is resin. It's heavier than the kind of resin that we use is heavier than the wood. So, and it also has a cooler touch to it. But each of them is hand cast. Here, I'll show that to him. I can show him that. Yeah. Okay, so this is walnut. And so I can show you this piece. So this is what the other piece is made like. So with walnut, if walnut is carved, again, you have the beautiful wood. And so again, this is something that would never be painted. So that's how walnut carves up, just so you can see. I know there's a big reflection from the light, but I got to have the light for painting. So anyway, so that's walnut. Okay. So I'm going to go back and kind of zip through these. So that's resin. This is also resin. This was a piece that was my inspiration. I thought, oh, it'd be fun to have, 4 faces of a Santa with one hat and one beard. And so that's what we did. Little did I think about the fact that that was 4 times the amount of painting for me. But it was. So these are resin. This is a resin reproduction from wood. I know, Rain, it is. It's so smooth. It's just amazing. So this one is the Santa, the mini faces of Santa. And then I've done it in different colorways. So here's another colorway. These I did quite a while ago. So, but you can see that they're, it's funny when you start seeing them one after the other after the other. I'm so used to them being so individually done in the wood that when they start coming together, in multiples, it's like, it's such a weird feeling, because here's the same one. But even though they're the same, they're still individual, because the painting's individual. I try to do different colors. I try to do different facial tones, different skin tones and so forth. I'm in the wrong camera. You're right. Sorry, Jean. Sorry. Thank you for that. We'll start over on this part. I was looking in the wrong screen. I was looking in the wrong screen. Thank you, Jean. Okay, so we'll start again. This is the Santa that has 4 faces. Okay. And so 4 faces with 1 hat and 1 beard. That was my idea. I thought, oh, that'd be great. Yeah, you just need to go elsewhere, buddy. Come on. You need to get down. The sponsors are out, so they're kind of problematic from time to time. So anyway, 4 faces on 1 beard and 1 hat. And so that is 4 times the amount of painting. And as I was saying, when I was showing to the wrong camera, it is a very weird feeling when you start seeing them be so close to the same, although I change the skin tones, I change and vary the hats and so forth, but still, it's very odd when they look so similar. But even when they come out of the mold, they are not necessarily the same, So anyway, that's the 4-faced Santa. Here's some of the other little ornaments, just so you can see. So this is the same ornament done a couple of different ways. I have them on nylon fishing line. And all of these, even though they're resin reproductions, they are limited editions because when the molds go away, that's it. They're done. So again, just so you can kind of see. Let's see what else. This is one of my favorite pieces. Did I show this one to you already? Did I show you this already? Maybe I did. I don't remember. Did I show him? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. Oh, yeah, I showed this one. So these are from the same mold, but again, different skin tones, different colorways. So, same guy, different colorways. Does Santa ever get brown eyes? Once in a while, but brown, like this guy has brown eyes, but the brown doesn't show up as well as the blue, and so that's why. But this one has brown eyes, but even on the screen, it kind of looks just like dark, totally dark. But yeah, sometimes I do. And then we do a line of various accessory types of things. This is a wine cork. We've also turned him into an ornament and also have him cast in pins. I don't think I have any of the pins. I think I've sold all the pins. But we have, I love this little guy. And I painted him in all different kinds of colors and so forth. And then we have a line of what we call icicle ornaments. And so these are the icicles. We have many of them, but these are the ones that I currently have. I have another tray of pieces. I don't know what stage they're in, but we'll take a look at them. So there's this one. I think this was the one that Jean bought, only in a different colorway. And this one was originally carved out of mahogany. The smaller pieces. Now, I haven't sold anything yet this year. So this one is one of the icicles. He was originally carved in mahogany, and to give you the idea of the detail that the molds capture, I'm going to try to get this up close enough that you can see. I need to block out everything else. Hang on just a minute. Chance just jumped on my chair. Okay, so we're going to see. Quit. Just quit. Just go. Climbing up my back. Sorry, I know this is bad filming. Let me turn off the light, see if it makes a difference here. I'm going to have to plug that back in when I go back to painting, but we'll see if it makes a difference. Okay, come on, camera. Work with me here. It's just not gonna pick it up. I need different cameras. I have different cameras at some point coming here before long. You can't see that. So anyway, I was trying to show you the grain of the wood, but I'm not gonna get it, so. Take my word for it. The grain of the wood shows in the mahogany. Anyway. Okay, so there's that one. There's this one. These, okay, this gives you an idea of, this is a similar Santa. This one's done in wood, this one's done in resin. So they're very similar, but different. This is not the original of this one, but Anyway, so you can see this is wood, this is resin, so they look very much alike. There's this guy. All of these have names, but these are all called Icicle Santas for obvious reasons. And this one is also in wood. These two are carved in wood. These are the original wood carvings. And this is another one. I like this guy because he has a pom-pom over his eye. And then we have a line of pins. Thanks, Ella. Dumbledore. There you go. And we have a line of pins that we've done. Again, everything is labor intensive. I'm not going to lie. They're labor intensive. So these are some of our pins. We have some other styles as well, but they're all different versions of Santas. These little guys, their eyes don't show. So there are those. Here's some other ones. These were, a friend of mine did these, and they were originally done in clay. And she wasn't doing anything with them anymore, so she gave me a slew of her. They were originally done in clay, and then she cast them all, had them all cast in resin, and so she sent them all to me, all of the resin pieces, because she wasn't doing anything with them anymore, and so then I painted them the way that I like to have them painted. So these are not my original, my painting is original, but these are not our original pieces. So these are originally all done in clay and then cast in resin. And then this one you've seen, I think in the past, any of you that have been hanging around, you've seen this one in wood. So this is the wood original, and this is the resin cast from the wood original. Now this has a lot of resin in it, and so this piece is heavy, but it's an ornament. It hangs from the loop right here. So you can see the wood original and then the resin reproduction. So they are very similar. Sometimes they come out, slightly different, but you can see those. So let me see. I have another tray of stuff over here. I don't know if they're finished pieces or not. So let me take a look. Looked at these for a while, so I don't know what's what.
That duck is butternut.
The duck is butternut?
Yeah, that's a different one.
Oh, I thought it was walnut.
No, it's not the same one.
That's the one I just showed.
That's the one I just put on there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, this one's got eyes.
Oh, yeah.
And feathers.
Okay. But this one's butternut?
That's butternut. That's a different one. Oh, wait a minute. No, so I'll take that back.
Walnut?
That's walnut, but that's a different duck than the one that I brought down a while ago.
Okay. So here's another duck, also made of walnut, but this is different than the one I showed you. Okay. So let me put these over here. So there's another walnut piece. Okay. So there's that one. So this one obviously has not been painted either. Just finished with oil or wax or something. Okay. Here's another one of the Santas in the bag. This is painted in a different way. Has more of a golden tint So painted differently than the other one. These are some of the small pieces that we have. These are wooden originals. These 3 that I'm showing you. These are wood originals. And so is this one, and so is this one. So these pieces are all wood. So this is a little guy. So he's very much a folk art style, as is this one. Yeah, it is. It's very smooth, Jeannie. Yeah. These are, I'm going to show you on a different camera. These guys are really funny. I've forgotten what I called them. See if I have the story. No. I don't have the story of this one. They're someplace else. But anyway. You can't get up here. You can't get up here. No. No arguing about it. Here's another one that is similar to that same kind of guy. So these are similar. Different, but similar. So I think they're funny. There's his face, just so you can kind of see his face. They're funny guys. And then this one. So these are all these 3 are pieces that are, do not jump up here. I'm going to bean you. Sorry about the whining Siamese cat in the background, but he's just doing what he does. Yeah, chess set, yeah. Oh, Chance is being such a royal, you know. So anybody that's watching the recording that doesn't like the whining Siamese in the background, fast forward. So I have multiples of these. These are resin reproductions. So I have multiples of these at the moment. And each of the pieces has a story. This one is, hello, hello, I can't hear you. You know him. You've probably run into him several times this week. You might have even worked with him. We all hate to admit it, but we might even have been him now and then. Everybody needs a smile once in a while and a reminder that life is too short to be so bloomin' serious. Hello, hello, I can't hear you began as an original wood carving by Tiger Claws Carvings. Next, a mold was created and individually cast in resin. Each piece is individually painted and finished to look exactly like the original wood carving. This one is approximately 3.5 inches tall, 3 inches wide, and 2 inches deep. Are you ready for a laugh? Hello? Hello? I can't hear you. So that is him. And he started out as an original wood carving as well, as they all did. So, all right, so that's everything that I have at the moment. So I'm going to put these away before the cat jumps in the middle of them, because he is pining to jump up here. So let me put those away, and I'll be right back, and we'll start painting again. All right. I'm just going to set these here, and I'll put them away after a while. And if Chance doesn't hush, I'm going to shut him behind door number 1 here in a minute. Who writes the stories? I do. I do all the writing of the stories. Sure, Ella. You bet. Okay, so we're going to go back to our little Santa face, who is now dry, and I can put his red stripes on. Chance, you need to shut it, babe. Sure, Rain. Give that kitty some love. He's obnoxious. He's being noxious. Okay, so I'm going back to red paint. What he wants is he wants to sit in my lap and rub his head on my hands while I paint. And, you know, when you're trying to do detail work, it doesn't work so well. Doesn't work so well. Hi, Darcy. I didn't see you earlier. If you were here a while ago, I didn't see you. Okay, so I'm going to fill in the red stripes. So meanwhile, back at the painting. So anyway, if anybody has any questions, let me know. I'll look up every so often, those of you in the live chat. If you're watching this recording, if you have questions, you can contact me at barb@HowToGetCreative.com. Or you can message me on Twitter, which is at Barb Owen Designs with an S on the end. Designs, at Barb Owen Designs. You can contact me there. Those are the two best ways to get a hold of me. So all of the pieces that we have, the resin pieces and the wood pieces are all varying prices. So I do have to tell people that they are hand created. Even the resin pieces are everything is a handmade process. You know, we don't order things from China, or we don't have them painted in China. Not that there's anything wrong with China, by any means. And the more detailed it becomes, the less I talk. So, trying to get this to do what I want it to do. Okay. All right. Check the chat here for a minute. Yeah. I just read what Sophia said. Oh, Lynn, I hate it when they go to the vet and then come out with weird behavior things. Josie's son was sent to China a few weeks ago. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with China. Just reading the chat a minute, people. Now Chance and Charlie are fussing, so hey, Cindy. Here comes Charlie. Chance was just mean to him, so he chased Charlie off the chair, off the table. They don't fight very often, but when they do, Chance usually is the victor. He is a bully. He is a bully, let me say that. And he's very happy when he gets rid of Charlie. Of course, then the next thing you know, he's looking for him to snuggle up by him. So is Darcy Glam still here? Are you guys streaming next week? Okay. I'll check the chat again in a minute. Sometimes my brushes don't go exactly where I expect them to go. I know nobody can believe that. As Blade, Jonathan Manning says, can't talk. Arting. There are some parts of this that are so fiddly. This is one of them. When I'm painting something that is very high contrast, because it's got to be, you can't fix it if you don't do it right in the beginning. Fixing it later is not an option. Okay, we got that one. 2 more red stripes. Okay, let me see what you guys are talking about. Okay, Marita, thanks for popping in. I know, exactly. He makes it very easy for me, doesn't he? It's okay, I get him back. You guys saw the little tiny bird I had him carve. I get him back once in a while. And I'll say, I need you to carve a dog for me. You know, this piece needs a dog on it. So we get each other back. He carved something that's almost impossible for me to paint. Charlie, honestly, you guys didn't see that. Charlie just about took my cup of tea with him. Believe me, when that cat decides to go somewhere, he has so much bulk in his body. He's amazingly agile for the size that he is, but if he knocks into something, no good. I'll show you guys the piece with the finished little bird on it here in a minute. Well, it's not varnished, but it's the painting I think is done. I don't know if the painting's done until the varnish coat goes on. Once they're varnished, then I declare them done. And she goes quiet again. And if this is out of focus a little bit for you guys, I apologize. But again, I have to get it up high enough that I can see. So once I get this stripe, and there's one more stripe, when I get that done, then I'll show you the little piece with the teensy little carved bird on it. Teensy is the opposite of ginormous, you know, in case you were wondering. So on days when I don't normally, don't do my usual Ustream show, the cats are allowed to be out and kind of doing their own thing within reason. If they get too obnoxious, I have to lock them away. But if they're being pretty good, I leave them out here. the downside to that is that periodically you get to listen to a lovely Siamese voice. And acrylic paint you can clean up with a damp brush as long as you do it quickly. If you wait any amount of time, there is no cleaning up. You have to paint over it with this kind of acrylic paint. Maybe with artist acrylic paint you have more open time, not with this. And I've tried working with artist acrylic paints and mixing colors and stuff. It just isn't my preference, so. You know, we all develop our preferences. All right, we got one more stripe to go. You love their voices, Rain? Okay. 22-pound cat. That's a cat. Okay, Cindy asked way back there, Barb, do you prime the carvings before painting? No, I don't. I have in the past varnished them, which is basically a way of priming them. Put a varnish coat on them. That tends to raise the grain of the wood. Then I have to sand them down and I lose some of the detail. This way, although the paint raises the grain of the wood somewhat, I don't find it problematic. So, and I don't want to put any more layers of stuff on here to fill in details, you know, like a base coat of paint or whatever. I've tried it different ways, you know, and I've tried spraying them. So I've tried different ways of doing things, you know, and finally you just find the way that works for you, and I just stick with it. And sometimes Chance goes in the bathroom and there's a big mirror in there. He has a vanity with a mirror. And so he'll get up on the vanity and look in the mirror at himself. He really does like his reflection a lot. So he'll get up on the vanity and look at himself in the mirror and talk to himself. Except he doesn't talk in his normal melodious Siamese voice. He talks in his I love you melodious Siamese voice, like, you know, it's this whiny, horrible, ugh, it's awful. So I have to say, Chance, and then he'll stop for a minute. Then he tends to go back after a minute and he'll do it again. But behind door number 1, where they end up staying most of the time, because that's for their food and litter box and all that is. They lay in there most of the time. They have a couple of big pallets in there on some tables that's where they like. And there's there's actually 3 big windows, and they love to lay in the windows in the sun, which we have none of today. He'll go in there. There's a mirror, a big full-length mirror behind the door. So he'll go in there, and I have a lot of the mirror covered up with a poster. But the part that he can see doesn't have anything obscuring his reflection. So sometimes he just sits there and admires himself in the mirror. I mean, it's the funniest thing to see. Here comes the Muppet. What are you doing, Miss Muppet? Hmm? This little guy is going to be cute. Going to be cute. This one would be a cute mold. I'm not going to ask Clausman to do that because we don't mold them after they've been painted, because it can screw up the carving. Not the carving, the painting. So we will not be molding this one. Besides that, I really don't have time. So you can see why under normal circumstances I don't record this process, because it takes a long time. But if you're desperate for something to watch and someplace to hang out, it works for that. And on YouTube, if you happen to be watching this, you can always fast forward, put it, click the gear, and you can watch it in double time or whatever. Okay, so he is finally base coated. So I'm going to hang him up to dry thoroughly before I go on. Chance knows he is the handsomest of the handsome, in his opinion. Thanks, Barb. Painting over red is rather difficult. Yes, it is incredibly difficult to paint over it. You can't go over red with white. That's why I do the white first. Cat sounded just like that. I miss her hearing. Hearing them comforts you. Well, that's a good thing, because they're obnoxious. Bye, Sandy Chick. Well, the thing about these cats, Chance in particular will slam doors. And so we have door stops on all the doors that we don't want him slamming, because he'll get up behind the door on his hind legs and he'll walk on his hind legs and slam the door shut. So I can't have him slamming the door into the bathroom or slamming the door into their room where the litter and the food is. I can't have him doing that. So we had to build door stops so that he couldn't do that. Yeah, he's a pain. Are they allowed to get up on everything, or are they restricted from certain things? Well, Ella, you've apparently never lived with a cat. Because you can't control what cats get up on. The only thing that stops a cat from getting up on something is they're too fat to get there. Which means that Charlie is too fat to go some places. I mean, there are things I would rather they didn't get on, but you can't control what a cat gets on, because they're in the studio. They're in the studio without me at night. And so, there's just some things I can't control. So, yeah, the answer to that question is they pretty much go where they want. We do cover all the carving tools and gouges with aluminum foil. And that keeps them off of those. And that's for safety reasons, because those are very sharp. They could cut their paws and nothing flat. So that's for safety reasons. But they're pretty good about not getting up on some places. They're pretty good. That doesn't mean they wouldn't, but there are some things that they're pretty good about. So I'll show you these 3 pieces before I go back to painting him. So this is the little guy. This is the Santa with the teddy bear. I started to say little guy. He's not little. So some of you saw him before, but there's his wee little teddy bear that will be attached into his basket. But he's pretty cute. I don't have my real detailed camera on, so you may not be able to see him. But anyway, there is the little... Stop that. I don't know that you can see the detail on him, but he's got stitched... He has a little tiny heart on his chest, and he has stitch lines around his paw pads and down his tummy and on his head and down the sides of his face and so forth. Yeah, if you're with them all the time, Carol, you can teach them that, absolutely. But boy, here when they're left for several hours at a time on their own, there isn't any, there's nobody here to reinforce that they can't get on the counters and stuff. Chance is more vocal. He is more mischievous. Yes, he is. Yeah. So anyway, that's that one. I just thought I'd show you. Some of you had seen the teddy bear earlier, so I thought I'd show you what he turned out to be like. And this is Santa on his day off. So he's got on his plaid shirt because he's taking a day off here. Thanks, Reem. So there is Santa on his day off. And then this is the one that Clausman said some bad words about. Not the Santa. The Santa was fine. And he did fine with the sign, which is not glued in yet. It's just sitting in here. But what he got upset about was when I said, I need this little tiny bird right here. Then I needed a little tiny carved bird. And he gave me a bunch of grief over that. He says, how big? And so I drew it, how big I wanted it. And I'm just putting my hand behind it so you have some way to look at it. And I told him how big I wanted the bird to be because that's what he needed. He needed to put a bird on it. He gave me a bunch of grief about that. But guess what? He carved it. That is a hand-carved bird. You should have heard him over there, fussing and muttering and carrying on. I have to do all kinds of good juju back to this bird so it doesn't carry bad juju with it. It doesn't take any bad energy away from the carving process. But I think it was the perfect touch. And I never know what they're going to need. Like this guy started out like this. And I thought, no, he needs to be on a base. And so we started out with the base. I said, no, he's got to be mounted on something else. Because we collaborate with these all the time. With, what needs to happen to what. And so I said, no, he needs to be on a base. And after I was working on painting him and finishing the details and stuff, I said, no, he needs a sign that says smile on it because that's what he's doing. He's so smiley faced. And so we did the sign and I put snow. I don't know if you can tell. Yeah, you can see the snow on top of the sign. And then it's like, yeah, he still isn't quite finished. And so then, as many things do, they come to me in my sleep. And when I wake up, I know kind of what needs to be done. Clausman, are you signed in? He's signed in, yeah. Are you watching the chat? Are you watching the chat?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he's watching the chat. And so that's when I said, I know what he needs. He needs a little tiny bird. Yeah. And that's where it all went crazy. That's okay. All right, let me put these back. So I'll show you the pieces that are in process. These have their faces finished, but they don't have, and they're base coated. So their faces are done. Here comes Chance. Faces are finished, but that's it. So here is the cowboy. I don't know whether you can see him. Some of them are pretty tall. This little bitty guy. He looks like a little gnome Santa. He's mounted on a base and he has a walking stick. But I love it when their faces are on because then I can see where they're going. This one has a big walking stick. Again, only the base coat, so everything looks very flat other than the face. You can see the great difference, I hope, between the face and the rest of the piece. This is a piece that, I know the light's washing out the white. This piece is the most unique piece of the collection because it's more like a bust, and he's got Christmas tree, which I envision will be inset with gemstones, but we haven't gotten that far yet. And on here on the base, I have a little yellow dog, which he's already carved, but he's not at all. I haven't done anything to him except paint him yellow. So he doesn't look a lot like a dog at the moment, but he'll have a little yellow dog resting down here. And so there will be a story about the dog. Okay, thanks, Eileen. Oh, that's right. She was coming on at 5. I'll get off here shortly. Thanks, Eileen. And so here is this Santa. He's very, very tall. And he holds a star. That's what he's going to be holding. And this one is, again, he's very, very tall. These guys are super tall. He's the one that has the list that wraps around Goes all the way around the base, and he's done in all shades of whites. Thanks, Jan. And I know. And then this Santa is in all different shades of metallic. So I try to do some that are unexpected colors and so forth. So, yeah. So anyway, that's where we are on those. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get off because I don't want to interfere with Dar streaming. I forgot. I just lost track of the time. So I'm going to stop this recording. So hang on for a minute. Thanks everybody for joining me. And so this is the little guy that I'm working on. And so I'm going to stop streaming now, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for hanging out with me.